Did I ever tell you how lucky you are? By Dr. Zeus. And if you'd like to buy this book, check in the link description down below. When I was quite young and quite small for my size, I met an old man in the desert of Dries, and he sang me a song I will never forget. At least, well, I haven't forgotten it yet. He sat in a terrible, prickly place, but he sang with a sunny, sweet smile on his face. When you think things are bad, when you feel sour and blue, when you start to get mad, you should do what I do. Just tell yourself, Ducky, you're really quite lucky. Some people are much more, ever so much more, much more unluckier than you. Be glad you don't work on the Bunglebug Bridge that they're building across Booba Bay at Brum Bridge. It's a troublesome world. All the people who are in it are troubled with troubles almost every minute. You owe to be thankful, a whole heaping lot, for the places and people you're lucky you're not. Just suppose, for example, you lived in Gazette and got caught in that traffic on Zeit Highway 8. Or suppose, just for instance, you lived in Gazaire with your bedroom up here and your bathroom up there. Just suppose you were poor Herbie Hart who has taken his thromdimbulator apart. He will never get it together, I'm sure. He never will know if the gick or the gore fits into the scrux or the snucks or the snore. Yes, Ducky, you're lucky. You're not Herbie Hart, who has taken his thromdimbulator apart. Think they work you too hard? Think of poor Ali Saad. He has to mow grass in his uncle's backyard, and it's quick-growing grass. It grows as he mows it. The faster he mows it, the faster he grows it. And all that his staying old uncle will pay for shoving that mower around in their hay is the puffyless pay of 2 ducats a day. And Ali can't live on such pitiless pay. So he has to paint flagpoles on Sundays and Grews. How lucky you are you don't live in his shoes. And poor Mr. Biggs, every morning at 6, poor Mr. Biggs has his boyfriend to fix. It doesn't seem fair, it just doesn't seem right. But his boyfriend just seems to go schlump every night. It schlumps in a heap, sadly needing a repair. Bix figures it to do in the local night air. It takes him all day to unschlump it, and then the night air comes back, and it schlumps it once again. So don't you feel blue. Don't get down in the dumps. You're lucky you don't have a boyfriend that schlumps. And while we are at it, consider the schlots, the crumplehorn, web-footed, green-bearded schlots, whose tail is entailed with an unsolvable knots. If he isn't muchly more worse off than you, I'll eat my umbrella. That's just what I'll do. And you're lucky indeed. You don't ride on a camel. To ride on a camel, you sit on a wammel. And a wammel, you know, is sort of a saddle held on a button that's known as a faddle. And boy, if your old wammel faddle gets loose, I'm telling you, Ducky, you're gone like a goose. And poor Mr. Potter, T-crosser, I-dotter. He has to cross T's and he has to dot I's in an I and T factory out in Van Nuys. Oh, the jobs people work at. Out west near Hatwatch. There's a Hatwatcher bee watcher. His job is to watch, is to keep both his eyes on a lazy town bee. A bee that is watched will work harder, you see. Well, he watched and he watched, but in spite of his watch, that bee didn't work harder, not much. So then somebody said our old bee watching man just isn't bee watching as hard as he can. He ought to be watched by another halt watcher. The thing that we need is a bee watcher. Well, the bee watcher watched the bee watcher. He didn't watch well, so another halt watcher had to come in and watch watcher. And today all the watchers who live in Hawch are watching on watching the watcher who's watching that bee. You're not a Hawch watcher, you're lucky, you see. And how fortunate you're not, Professor Debris, who has spent the past 32 years, if you please, trying to teach Irish ducks how to read Javanese. And think of the poor puffing Pooglehorn players who have to parade down the Pooglehorn stairs every morning to wake up the Prince of Poohboogan. It's awful how often their poogles get broken. And oh, just suppose you were poor Harry Haddo. Try as he will, he can't make any shadow. He thinks that perhaps something's wrong with his giz, and I think that by golly there probably is. And the brothers Bazoo, the poor brothers Bazoo. Suppose your hair grew, like theirs happened too. You think you're unlucky? I'm telling you, Ducky, some people are ever so muchly more unlucky than you. And suppose that you lived in the forest in France, where the average young person just hasn't a chance to escape from the perilous plant-eating plants. But your pants are safe? You're a fortunate guy, and you ought to be shouting, "How lucky am I!" And speaking of plants, you should be greatly gladish. You're not Farmer Falkenberg's 17 radish. And you're so lucky you're not Gucky Gown, who lives by himself 90 miles out of town. In the ruins of Ronk. Ronk is rather run down. And you're so lucky you're not a left sock. Left behind by mistake in the caverns of Croc. Thank goodness for all of the things you are not. Thank goodness you're not something someone forgot. All left alone in some punkerish place, like a rusty tin coat hanger hanging in space. That's why I say, Ducky, don't grumble, don't stew. Some critters are much, oh ever so much more unlucky than you. The end.